Dave Prezat will be stepping out now. Nick Bockwinkel, former AWA World Champion and former AWA World Tag Team Champion with Ray the Crippler Stevens will be joining us.
I will be back here to call the rest of the show. Brian Last, it's been great. Nick Bockwinkel, come on in here for NWA Home Video, former AWA Champion Nick Bockwinkel.
Our next match is scheduled for a wrestler with a 1 hour time limit. It's for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Nick.
My pleasure. Thank you so very much.
The challenger from Austria, weighing in at 102 kilos, he is the CWA Heavyweight Champion. Please welcome Franz Schumann.
Franz Schumann, one of the top wrestlers in the CWA out in Europe. He's been wrestling with the likes of David Finley, Lance Storm, Rasta Voodoo Man, Otto Vons, and many others. This is his initial appearance in America, and of course his initial appearance with the National Wrestling Alliance. He's going against our World Heavyweight Champion, the Beast, Dan Severn.
Well, one thing's for sure, if he has survived Otto Vons in Europe, he may just be a really good survivalist.
You've wrestled Otto Vons, right, Nick?
Regrettably, I have to say I have. And regrettably, I have to say I actually lost the AWA Championship to him, only though I was able to retain it sometime later.
The CWA Heavyweight Champion, Franz Schumann.
I think what upset me was when Vons beat me, he took my title, but I didn't get his.
Michigan, weighing 260 pounds. He is the UFC champion and the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, the Beast, Dan Severn.
Dan Severn has held the NWA World Heavyweight title since 1995. He beat Chris Candido in Erlanger, Kentucky. He's been defending it around the globe on a constant basis. How many people in this industry can say they've been in an octagon with Hoist Gracie, with Ken Shamrock, and also been in a wrestling ring with the likes of Chris Candido, Dory Funk Jr., Al Snow? This is a man you have to respect, Dan the Beast Severn.
He definitely has the credentials, and if he ever gives up wrestling, you just go into modeling for males. I mean, God's supposed to make you and I that handsome, not him.
Photographers are at ringside. I think I noticed a couple from Japan. This match has international meaning. This match everyone's looking forward to over in Europe and Japan as well.
When you get two people of the stature of these two gentlemen, and both of them are champions, respectively, of different parts of the world, of the globe, means a lot. Because one of them is able to come out on top. It's almost like he is the dominant personality in those two parts of the world.
NWA official Mike Keener will be refereeing this match. Franz Schumann in the red tights with the white stars, Dan Severn in the black. And the bell rings. The two circling each other.
The thing about Dan has more of the typical wrestling body. When you look at a lot of the great wrestlers of the past, he just has that structure. He's not overly muscular, so to speak, like the bodybuilders. And as you look at Franz, same thing. Wrestler's body, comparatively speaking, to a weightlifter or a bodybuilder's.
Dan Severn, for a man his size, is extremely flexible. He has proven himself in both shoot fights and professional wrestling. It's an arm drag on Franz Schumann, knocks him from that.
Different ways. If you noticed, he really takes it up tight, and he makes kind of a small or a shorter one. Whereas a lot of American-style guys will try to get the guy coming in a longer one, but then it frees the man, whereas Dan could have held on to him.
Franz with the side headlock applied on Dan Severn after a kick to the gut. Severn trips him down and is riding him. Now it's a front face lock, it appears to be. Nick, how do you go about training for a wrestler like Dan the Beast Severn, who is so versatile in the ring?
Well, you better be versatile yourself. And what was nice there is Franz came up, and Franz took him in a reverse arm drag, but because they were close enough that he was able to make the move that fast and that quick and that crisp. And you can see right now they're both tied up very close. He's going for the knee, but I mean, you know, if somebody's not moving towards you, you have to do all the work yourself.
Oh! Franz Schumann knocked up and down by a powerful clothesline by Dan Severn. Franz Schumann, one of the top wrestlers in all of Europe. Nick Bockwinkel, in the past, you've wrestled one of the top wrestlers, and Billy Robinson, considered by many one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Absolutely, I would have to take my hat off to that. He was so impressive. I had a fight for my life anytime I stepped in the ring with him. Nice move.
Franz Schumann throws Severn across the ring.
Little agility and a little speed, and it goes to show you, even though he only had the wrist, if you make the right moves, you get the momentum going, your body's going to follow whether you want it to or not.
At this point, I believe both combatants have respect for each other, as I don't know if Dan Severn's probably never even seen Franz Schumann, and I'm sure Franz Schumann has seen tapes of Dan Severn as the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Is very popular all over the world.
Well, one of the classic things, when you've got two people who are very much pretty close to the same physical size, actually have very much same form and types of bodies, and are wrestling as close as they are, I'm loving all the moves that I see, because this is what two classic wrestlers will do with each other.
Dan Severn, who was not a professional wrestler until later in his life, must have learned a lot being in the ring with legends like Dory Funk Jr., who he's wrestled on several occasions.
Well, Dan has a tremendous amateur background, and so you know what I mean. There was just a simple leg dive, but of course you need more than just a single second for a pin. As you do in amateur wrestling, you need the 3 count. Makes it a lot more difficult.
3 count or the submission, and Dan Severn is a master of submissions. He slams Franz Schumann's down and gets the 2 count. He picks him up again. Slams him down.
He's not going to beat Franz with that move. It's having some impact on Franz, but he just
fans chanting beast for Dan Severn. Another 2 count.
It's not all that strong on the lower, or rather good for the lower back, trying to pick a man up in that fashion. He's half Boston Crab.
A lot of pressure right now on the knee and the lower back. Dan Severn, one of the smartest submission wrestlers you'll ever see.
I've watched him myself in a couple of the Ultimate Fighting challenges that he had. Came out successfully in those too.
Nick, how would you go about getting out of this hold? Well,
just exactly what Franz did. One of the tough things about the full Boston Crab, or in that case the half Boston Crab, it's so difficult to gather any leverage, and so that to go to the ropes. I mean, your quarterbacks on Sunday they run to the sidelines all the time, and everybody thinks it's smart football. Here they have a tendency to sometimes call you a coward. No, it should just be smart wrestling.
Dan Severn with a face lock, headlock on Franz Schumann. Dan Severn's been our world champion now for 3 years. How many world champions in other organizations have been champions for longer than 6 months?
That is true. Beautiful move. Come on, be careful.
Schumann up and over. Flying cross body on Dan Severn. 1, 2. Severn kicks out and throws him to the floor.
So he just got rid of the body that was on top of him, and he was close enough that he went out on the floor.
That was not intentional. He just tried to kick out, and the ropes just happened to be there.
I think of the number of times when I've tried to cover somebody who had the strength like Hercules Cortez or the Crusher. They get their hands underneath you. They'd shove you about 3 feet straight up in the air.
Nick Bockwinkel, you've wrestled some of the greatest technical wrestlers in Vern Gagne, Billy Robinson. But you've also wrestled many of the stronger wrestlers like a Hulk Hogan or a Jesse Ventura. Which style did you find to be harder to wrestle against?
A lot of that has to depend on the desire factor, but I have a tendency to believe that the technical wrestlers were actually more difficult. For the wrestler who just depends on his power, ooh, let's see, we're going to get something reverse here. Yes.
Double underhook suplex.
Yes, sirree.
Drive Schumann down.
Now, that was a favorite move of Robinson's, that last one that we just saw. Oh, he's got the legs.
It looks like he's going for a sharpshooter, but he can't get Dan Severn over.
No, he can't. But going back to the strong men or the wrestlers were harder to handle because they knew so many other ways. The bigger guys depended on their strength, and you know, it's kind of like we have an expression, and all ankles are the same size. So even if a guy's an elephant, if he can't walk, he can't hurt you.
Franz Schumann may not be the ultimate fighting champion, but he's very smart in the ring. Look at how quickly he was able to turn.
Well, and as you can see on that last hole, too, just because of the legs being tied up the way they were, Dan Severn did the same thing. He went to the ropes.
Tremendous pressure just put on the knee as Dan Severn hit down on it as he caught Schumann's foot. Now he's putting, looks like an ankle lock.
If he doesn't tie up the other leg, he's really stealing advantage from himself, because this would allow Franz to turn over, and I can't. And he doesn't have the other leg tied up. Can't leave it.
Franz gets to the ropes. The fans clap in appreciation as you're seeing two of the finest wrestlers in the world today. Dan Severn tried to tackle Franz, and now he's on top of him.
Well, it seemed like it was a half-hearted effort on the part of both of them, and they just kind of collapsed into the ropes.
Whoa, he throws Severn over the top rope. Maybe that was frustration.
It's not...
He obviously knew where he was when he just did that.
Well, yes and no. If a guy is coming towards you at any time, your tendency, if you can...
Oh, Franz Schumann dives through the rope.
Oh, that's a high-risk maneuver, and boy, it can be very successful, but at the same time, if you are 3-4 inches off, you can hurt yourself tremendously.
I did not expect that. It came out of nowhere. Franz Schumann, obviously very gifted.
Once upon a time, throwing somebody over the top rope was a disqualification. Oh!
Severn drops Franz Schumann's throat. Franz Schumann throat first across the barricade.
Not a classic wrestling move, something that I would not necessarily expect from either one of the men. But at the same time, Dan Severn and all the ultimate fighting he's done has learned you use whatever is available to you. That's being just a very efficient businessman.
Right now, I'd have to say this match has been even between the two. Dan Severn knocks Franz Schumann off the rope onto the floor with a clothesline there.
Kind of a half-hearted forearm to the side of the head. I'm not sure. I think he was going over. I think he wanted to do something. Didn't see where he could make the move or grab a hold of what he wanted. And then, thought, well, I'll at least nail him.
Kicks Severn down as he jumps over. Nick, this being your first time seeing Franz Schumann, how would you rate him so far?
Very highly, very highly. He has so much of the ability that most of the European wrestling stars do. All of them are excellent wrestlers, and their styles are tremendously similar. So if you wrestle one, you get to know. Good deal.
Severn picks up Franz Schumann, sends him to the ropes. Catches him, drives him down onto his back.
Very, very good.
Franz Schumann submits to an ankle lock, to a wrist lock, excuse me.
It's tough when you take and that guy gets your arm and he's got you down and he's got that arm barred. Only because of the impact he's able to get it and hold on to it. And that's going to give him that victory every time.
A successful title defense for Dan the Beast Severn, but let's not forget Franz Schumann in his American debut put forth great effort, and I I was very impressed by him, and I hope we see him again in the National Wrestling Alliance.
I look forward to it myself at any time. Thank you so much. My pleasure for sitting in here and giving a little few comments of my own.
Nick, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you for doing this for us. And,
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.